Liana's fingers hovered over the holographic display, her eyes narrowing as she studied the data. Earth's biosphere, the thing that had been the defining characteristic of humanity's survival, was now at the center of the galaxy's attention. A problem. A mystery. A challenge. To every species across the stars, Earth was categorized as a wild, untamed anomaly in the cosmic order. And now, the Galactic Council had marked it as a Category Red threat. The warning came through not as an immediate declaration of war, but rather as a warning to all who passed by Earth's solar system: handle with caution. For years, Earth's biodiversity had been an enigma. The Council had watched, and for the most part, ignored humanity's defiance in the face of alien oppression. They believed it was a fluke, a planet too toxic, too hostile for any race to truly survive. But now, they had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to thrive against impossible odds. "Commander Liana," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Kiara, her second in command. Her presence was always steadying, but today, there was a hardness to her gaze. "The Council's declaration is final. We've been classified as Category Red." Liana's mind shifted gears. A glance at the large central display showed the report, an assessment by the Council's finest xenobiologists. Earth was labeled uninhabitable for any species other than humanity. The toxic atmosphere, the unpredictable weather patterns, the highly dangerous flora and fauna. To the Council, it was nothing more than a puzzle to be solved, perhaps even eradicated. Liana rubbed the back of her neck, staring at the projection, the warning flashing in bright crimson letters: Subject, Earth. Classification, Category Red. All galactic travel through this system restricted. ****. Her eyes shifted to the nearby window, where Earth's blue-green orb floated, looking so fragile and yet so defiant. The nerve of the Council. They thought they could simply dictate humanity's future based on a catalog of faults, a list of impossible odds. "We need to send them something they'll never forget," Liana said, her voice low, the fire of determination burning in her chest. "Prepare the samples." A few hours later, Liana and her team stood in the biolab of the Tempest, the ship's sterile white walls illuminated by the harsh light of data screens. In front of them, a transparent containment chamber held dozens of carefully collected samples. Earth's most dangerous species, things that had been viewed as nature's most terrifying threats, were carefully preserved and waiting to be analyzed. Liana's hand hovered over the console, reviewing each sample. She paused on one of the more dangerous specimens, the Serpentis apex, a reptilian predator that had nearly wiped out humanity's first colonies on the planet. It was enormous, able to breathe in the toxic, low-oxygen atmosphere of Earth's deepest jungles. But that was just the beginning. The Serpentis was nearly indestructible. "Are we really doing this?" Kiara asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and awe. Liana turned to face her. "We're sending a message. The Council needs to know that Earth's biosphere isn't something to fear, it's something to respect." The room fell silent, the weight of their plan settling over the team. Sending these samples to the Galactic Council wouldn't just be a message of survival, it would be a declaration of strength. Humanity was not just surviving, they were mastering their environment, bending it to their will. "We've prepared the data on every sample," Kira continued, her eyes scanning the contents. "The apex, the ensnare predator, even the hellfire ants. If the Council thinks Earth is a failure, they've got another thing coming." Liana nodded. "Get it ready. We're sending it as soon as possible." The message was sent. The Tempest sailed through space, its sensors flaring as it entered the galactic transmission lanes. Liana watched the progress bar on the console. The transmission was encrypted, of course, and it wasn't just a data dump. They were sending a declaration, a challenge wrapped in scientific proof. Humanity was here, and they had made Earth work, even if it was a planet considered too dangerous to endure. Liana's fingers tapped against the console nervously, not from fear, but anticipation. She didn't know what would happen once the Council received the data. Would they consider Earth's dangerous environment as a new asset, or would they see it as something to be exploited or eradicated? She wouldn't let them decide. Not again. As the final confirmation came through, a buzz filled the room. The transmission was complete. Message sent, Kira said, turning to face Liana. Now we wait. Liana stood at the viewport again, her thoughts far away, her eyes locked on Earth as it floated serenely in the dark. The humans had always been survivors. But this time, they weren't just surviving. They were declaring their place in the galaxy. And they weren't going to let anyone forget it. Liana, Kira said, drawing her back from her thoughts. We've got a response. The holographic screen flickered to life, and the glowing emblem of the Galactic Council appeared. A somber-looking alien, humanoid in shape but with glowing blue eyes, appeared on the screen. It was a delegate of the Council, cold and calculating, like all of them. Liana didn't flinch. You've sent something to us, the alien began, his voice cool and uninviting. Your transmission has been received, and we've analyzed the samples you sent. Your Earth is indeed dangerous. The biosphere you've protected has no place in the galactic order. We cannot allow this anomaly to remain unaccounted for. Liana's jaw tightened, but she remained silent, waiting. She had known it wouldn't be easy, but there was no turning back now. The alien continued, his tone colder now. We will classify Earth's biosphere as a threat. If your species continues to resist, we will have no choice but to take action. A sudden, sharp laugh interrupted him. Good, Liana said, stepping into the light. Because that's the point. You've just underestimated humanity. The delegate's face flickered, confused. What do you mean? Liana's lips curled into a smile, her voice steady but dripping with confidence. You're about to learn something. Humanity is a force you cannot contain. You think Earth is a problem? It's your biggest mistake. With a final glance at the holographic figure, Liana turned to Kira. Activate the fleet. We're going to make sure they learn who Earth belongs to. Liana stood tall as the stars stretched out before her. She wasn't just a soldier. She wasn't just a commander. She was the voice of humanity's future, and the galaxy would soon know it. The Tempest's engines hummed as the fleet powered up. The Council had called Earth an impossible anomaly. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The Tempest roared to life, and humanity's next chapter began. The Tempest had been in hyperspace for hours. Time had slowed to a crawl as Liana's mind raced, calculating the ramifications of their message to the Galactic Council. Every fiber of her being was on edge, but she forced herself to stay calm. They had crossed the line now. The data was sent. The gauntlet was thrown. Liana stood at the bridge, hands folded behind her back, staring into the vast expanse of stars. The silence of the ship was unnerving, broken only by the hum of the engines and the occasional voice on the comms. Her crew had been with her through countless battles, but this felt different. The war they were about to face was not just about survival. It was about showing the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. Commander Wells, the communications officer, broke the silence. We've got something. A response from the Galactic Council. Liana's pulse quickened. It had come faster than expected. Put it through, she ordered, stepping forward to the central console. The holographic display flickered to life, and the familiar, cold figure of the alien delegate appeared once more. This time, his expression was unreadable, but Liana could see the edge of frustration in his posture. You think you can defy us? The delegate's voice was stern, cutting through the air like a blade. Your reckless actions have forced our hand. Earth's biosphere is an anomaly we cannot ignore. It must be contained. Liana's lips tightened, her jaw clenching with controlled fury. Contain? You don't understand. Earth isn't something you can just wipe out. You can't control what you don't understand. The alien delegate's eyes narrowed. You're far too bold, Commander. Your species has already been classified as a threat, and if you persist in this defiance, we will take action. Your survival is no longer guaranteed. Liana didn't flinch. You've underestimated us. You think sending threats will scare us into submission? Earth survived before you showed up. It will survive long after you've retreated. The delegate paused, the flicker of uncertainty in his glowing eyes betraying a hint of doubt. Do not test us, human. You are already outmatched. The Council will not tolerate rebellion. Liana's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. We've survived every challenge you've thrown at us. We've learned, adapted, and fought back. This is our fight now. The Council may have called for containment, but we're telling you this: Earth's biosphere doesn't belong to you. It belongs to humanity. And we will defend it with everything we have. The delegate's eyes flickered with something almost like recognition, but he quickly masked it. Then you leave us no choice. He paused, his voice colder. Prepare yourselves for what is to come. The Galactic Order will not bow to your insolence. The Council will send their judgment. The hologram cut off, and the bridge fell into a heavy silence. Liana turned toward her crew, her mind already spinning the next steps. Get the fleet ready. They'll be coming for us. But this time, we're not just defending Earth. We're taking the fight to them. The Tempest-S engines roared to life as the human fleet prepared for their next move. The crew had been through tough battles before, but this was unlike anything they had ever faced. The Council wasn't just a political body, they were a force with unimaginable resources, and they were coming for Earth. We can't just wait for them to attack, Liana muttered, pacing in front of the command table. We need to go on the offensive. We need to show them that humanity isn't afraid. Her second-in-command, Kiara, approached with a grim expression. We've got intel from the Vanguard. The alien fleet is already on its way, and we're outnumbered. They've called in reinforcements from 3 different sectors. Liana clenched her fists. We've been outnumbered before. We'll use their arrogance against them. They think we're an anomaly. They think we're a threat. We're going to make them regret underestimating us. We need a plan, Kira said, her voice hard with determination. We can't afford to lose any more ships. We need to take them down quickly. Liana looked at the tactical map, her mind whirring with possibilities. We've got the advantage of surprise. They're expecting us to defend, but they're not expecting us to hit them first. Wells stepped forward, holding a data pad. I've intercepted a communication from their command. It seems they're planning to attack Earth's atmosphere directly, using a massive orbital strike weapon. If we don't act now, we'll be facing the full brunt of their power. Orbital strike weapon? Liana repeated, her face hardening. We can't let them get away with that. She turned to the rest of her team. We're not just defending Earth. We're going to take out their weapon, hit their fleet where it hurts, and make them regret their decision to go after us. The plan was set into motion. The Tempest and its fleet moved through space with precision, their weapons locked and ready. They would use every advantage, every trick in the book, to cripple the alien forces before they had a chance to unleash their devastating weapon. We've entered their attack range, Kira reported, her voice tense. We're on their flank. If we can move quickly, we can disable their weapon before they deploy it. Liana nodded. Full speed ahead. Keep tight formations. Once we hit their weapon, we don't stop. The battle unfolded quickly, like a well-practiced dance. The alien ships, vast and imposing, attempted to regroup, but they were too slow. The humans were faster, sharper, more adaptable. They moved with a fluidity that the alien forces couldn't match. Each strike from the Tempest sent ripples of destruction through the enemy fleet. Weapons fired, shields shattered, and the alien ships began to falter under the pressure. Commander, their weapon is in sight, Kira called out. We're almost there. The Tempest surged forward, cutting through the alien defenses. The massive orbital weapon, an enormous structure capable of raining destruction on Earth, loomed ahead. But Liana's heart was set. They would not let it fire. The Tempest fired its primary cannons, sending energy blasts straight into the heart of the weapon. The explosion that followed was deafening, the shockwave of the blast rippling through space. The orbital weapon was disabled, and the alien forces scrambled in disarray. We've done it, Wells breathed, her voice filled with awe. They're retreating. Liana stood at the helm, her gaze fixed on the wreckage of the weapon. The alien fleet was in full retreat now, their strength shattered. Humanity had struck a blow, but Liana knew this was just the beginning. They had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. But as the alien forces retreated, Liana's thoughts were already on the next challenge. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. "We've won this battle," she said, her voice filled with quiet confidence. "But the real fight starts now. The galaxy will never forget who we are." As the Tempest moved forward, Liana felt a spark of something new. Hope. Determination. Humanity had taken its place in the galaxy. And nothing would stop them now. The silence in the command center of the Tempest was deafening. After the battle, after the cheers of victory and the adrenaline rush of the last-minute strike against the alien orbital weapon, a heavy weight had settled over the crew. They had won, but at what cost? The alien fleet had retreated, their weapon disabled, but the war was far from over. Humanity had proven it could fight back, but the galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, filled with powers that had never seen a species like Earth's before. Liana stood on the bridge, looking at the star-streaked expanse before her. The Tempest had already made its way beyond the debris field of the alien fleet, leaving their shattered forces behind. But as she watched the stars blink in the distance, she felt a gnawing sense of unease. The victory felt hollow, like the calm before the storm. "Commander," Kira's voice broke through her thoughts. "We've got a new signal. It's coming from the Galactic Council." Liana turned toward her, eyebrows furrowed. She hadn't expected them to respond so quickly. "Put it through." The hologram flickered to life, displaying the same cold, humanoid figure from the Galactic Council. This time, the alien delegate's expression was unreadable, his voice crisp and sharp. "Commander Liana." The delegate's voice echoed through the room. "We've received your message. You have struck a blow against the fleet, but understand this, you are now a marked species. Earth is a threat to the galactic order, and your actions have only intensified the Council's resolve. The war is far from over." Liana's heart tightened as the weight of the words sank in. She had known this moment was coming, but hearing it from the Council's mouth made it all the more real. The warlords might be retreating, but the Council had no intention of letting humanity off the hook. They had crossed a line, and they had no intention of backing down. "This is not over, Commander," the delegate continued, his voice cold. "We will find a way to eliminate your species. Earth will fall. It is inevitable." Liana's eyes narrowed. "You think this is over, that you can simply erase humanity? You've underestimated us for the last time." The delegate's gaze flickered with what could have been a hint of frustration. "We do not make threats, Commander. We make decisions. The galaxy will be rid of your kind, and Earth will be returned to its natural state." Liana clenched her fists. She knew what this meant. The Galactic Council wasn't just angry, they were afraid. They had miscalculated humanity's resilience, and now they were scrambling to reclaim their authority. But they weren't going to win. "You've made your decision," Liana said, her voice steady, full of conviction. "And I've made mine. Humanity will fight, and we will win." The hologram flickered again, and the delegate's voice was the last thing she heard. "We shall see, Commander. We shall see." The transmission cut off, and the room was heavy with silence. For a moment, no one spoke. The reality of what Liana had just heard hung over them like a storm cloud. "They're coming," Liana said, her voice calm but resolute. "And they're not going to stop until they've wiped us out. But I won't let that happen. This war isn't just for survival anymore. It's for Earth's future. And I won't let anyone take that away from us." The Tempest and its fleet were already mobilizing, the crew moving with a new sense of urgency. Liana had made up her mind. If the Council thought humanity was a threat, then they would show the galaxy just how much of a threat Earth really was. They were no longer fighting to survive, they were fighting to reshape the galaxy on their terms. The next few days passed in a blur of tactical meetings, data analysis, and war strategy. The enemy was formidable, but Liana's resolve never wavered. The Council had made their move, but so had humanity. They weren't just defending their world anymore, they were going on the offensive. It was time to take the fight to the Council's doorstep. We have one shot at this, Liana said, addressing her officers. We need to hit them hard, before they can retaliate. Our first strike will be against their central command station. We break their leadership, and we throw their systems into chaos. The Council won't know what hit them. Kira, standing beside her, nodded. The Tempest is ready. We've trained for this. If we can hit their command structure, we'll disable their ability to coordinate. Liana's gaze hardened. Then we do it. We take down the heart of the Council. No more waiting. No more playing defense. The galaxy will know what happens when you push humanity to the brink. The human fleet made its way to the Council's headquarters, a vast, heavily guarded space station situated in the heart of an uncharted sector. The Council's defenses were formidable. Countless warships and automated drones patrolled the station, each one a deadly reminder of their power. But Liana was undeterred. They had already proven that humanity could fight back, and they were going to prove it again. As the Tempest closed in on the station, the crew moved like clockwork. The battle tactics were flawless. The fleet's first wave cut through the defenses, disabling key weapon systems and creating a breach in the station's outer hull. It was their opening. It was their chance to strike before the Council could regroup. Prepare the boarding pods, Liana ordered, her voice calm but filled with resolve. We're going in. The team moved quickly, boarding the station with precision and speed. The alien soldiers who had once seemed invincible were now scattered, overwhelmed by the human assault. But there were still pockets of resistance. Still, the humans pushed forward, unstoppable in their drive. Liana led the charge, her eyes fixed on the central command room. It was here, at the heart of the Council's operations, that they would finally strike a blow that would change the galaxy forever. She could feel it in her bones. This was the turning point. They breached the final set of doors, and inside stood the last of the Council's leaders, flanked by their elite guards. The air was thick with tension. You think you've won? One of the Council leaders spat, stepping forward. His expression was twisted in anger. You've only sealed your fate. Liana's gaze met his, unwavering. No. You've sealed yours. With a sharp movement, she fired, taking the leader down with one clean shot. The guards moved, but they were no match for the human soldiers. The battle was swift. As the station began to implode around them, Liana watched as the Council's power crumbled. The human fleet had delivered its final blow. We've done it, Kira said, her voice filled with awe. Liana took a deep breath. Not just for us. For every species the Council ever tried to control. Humanity's fight has just begun. The war was far from over, but the Council had been dealt a crushing blow. Humanity had proven that they could stand toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most powerful forces. But Liana knew the fight was just beginning. The galaxy would never be the same again. And neither would humanity. On to the next battle, Liana said quietly, her eyes fixed on the stars. The galaxy had been put on notice. The final judgment had claimed its place, and no one would ever take it from them again. The stars stretched out before them, an endless sea of possibility, but Liana could only focus on the darkness that hung over Earth. The Tempest was deep within enemy territory now, its sleek hull blending into the void of space as it approached the heart of the enemy's control. The Galactic Council had been shaken, their grip on the galaxy weakened. The humans had struck a blow to their power, but they knew it was not enough. Earth's survival was still at stake, and the Council would stop at nothing to crush the last defiant species in the galaxy. The human fleet had fought bravely, but Liana's mind was already on the next step. They had won the first round, disabling the Council's command structure, dismantling their power, but the war was far from over. The Council was not an enemy that would crumble easily. And Liana, as always, was thinking 2 steps ahead. We've made our move, Liana said, her voice sharp as she stood in front of the tactical map, reviewing the galaxy's current state. Now we make them fear us. We strike fast, hit them where it hurts. Kira, standing beside her, studied the map intently. The human fleet had scattered the remaining Council ships, but the greatest challenge remained: their homeworld, their most sacred planet. It was the one place that could tip the scales in favor of the Council if they had the strength to retake it. "They're not retreating, Commander," Kira said, her voice a low growl of frustration. "They're regrouping. They're calling in reinforcements from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. We'll be facing more firepower than we've ever seen." Liana turned to face Kira, her expression unwavering. "I've seen worse. But this time, we don't just fight to survive. We take the fight to them. We burn the heart of the Council down and leave them with nothing to hold onto." The Tempest surged forward, its engines roaring as it rocketed through space. The crew was silent as they prepared for what was to come. Every officer, every soldier, knew that this mission could be their last. The stakes had never been higher. The Council had been humiliated, but they were still a formidable enemy. And the galaxy was watching. Liana stood at the bridge, her eyes locked onto the display as their final objective came into view. The Council's homeworld, their most fortified planet, loomed ahead, surrounded by an impenetrable array of ships and defensive systems. It was their last bastion. If they could pierce the defenses, humanity would have its first real shot at ending the war once and for all. "Commander," Wells called out, her fingers flying over the controls. "The enemy's fleet is massing. It's a blockade designed to prevent any approach to the planet's surface." "Break through it," Liana replied, her voice unwavering. "We're going in. Full speed ahead. Don't stop until we're through." The Tempest and the human fleet surged forward, their weapons primed and shields up. The alien ships opened fire, their blasts streaking through space with deadly precision, but humanity's fleet was quicker, more agile. Every human ship dodged, dipped, and weaved through the incoming fire, countering with devastating force. The battle erupted into chaos, blinding flashes of light and explosions ringing out as ships from both sides collided. "Keep pushing!" Liana shouted, her voice booming over the comms. "We break through, we take the planet! No retreat, no surrender!" The Tempest fought its way to the heart of the blockade, its weapons tearing through the alien ships one by one. But even as they made progress, Liana knew the Council's true strength lay in their final defense, the surface of the homeworld itself. "We've made it past the blockade!" Wells shouted. "They're sending in their last wave, Commander! The final defense is on the planet." Liana nodded, her mind already calculating their next move. They had breached the outer defenses, but now they would face their greatest challenge yet, the core of the Council's power, their last hope for maintaining control. The surface of their homeworld was swarming with elite troops, their strongest soldiers preparing to defend the planet from any intrusion. "We're not just breaking through, we're going to crush them," Liana said, her voice low but resolute. "Prepare for the ground assault. Get the boarding pods ready." The Tempest descended toward the surface of the alien world, the cityscapes below coming into view, sprawling and imposing. The planet's once beautiful cities were now fortresses, designed to repel any attack. The Council had fortified every inch, their elite forces standing ready to protect what remained of their power. But the humans were ready. They would not back down. "Drop pods are deployed," Kira said, her voice sharp. "We're going in. Ground team is ready." Liana's gaze hardened as the first wave of human soldiers hit the planet's surface. The moment their boots hit the ground, they were met with a storm of fire. The alien elite troops were everywhere, their weapons trained on humanity's advance. But the humans pushed forward, relentless, fueled by the knowledge that this was their final chance to break the Council's hold on the galaxy. The battle on the ground was as fierce as anything Liana had ever seen. The air was filled with the roar of weapons, the clatter of boots on concrete, and the shouts of soldiers. But humanity moved like a single organism, every soldier, every officer, acting in unison, a well-oiled machine of resistance. Liana led the charge, her voice a constant presence in her team's ear. "Stay together! We're taking the heart of their power! Don't stop! Push forward!" The alien forces were formidable, but they couldn't match the human drive. Each victory was hard won, but they were moving forward. Inch by inch, room by room, the human forces cleared the city's defenses. Finally, they reached the heart of the Council's operation, the central tower, the seat of their power. The doors were fortified with alien technology, but humanity had come prepared. They breached the doors with explosives, storming into the command center. Inside, the last of the Council's leaders stood ready, their eyes cold and calculating. "You think you can destroy us?" one of the alien leaders hissed, his voice filled with venom. "You've won nothing. The galaxy will never accept humanity's dominance." Liana stepped forward, her weapon raised. "You're wrong," she said, her voice low but filled with an unshakable certainty. "Humanity doesn't need your acceptance. We've earned our place, and we'll fight for it until the end." With a final, swift motion, she fired, and the alien leader crumpled to the floor. The remaining members of the Council were quickly subdued, their last stronghold falling in the blink of an eye. The battle was over. The Council had been dealt a crushing blow. The human fleet, battered but victorious, stood poised on the surface of the Council's homeworld. Liana stood over the wreckage of the command center, her eyes scanning the destruction. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had proved that it would not just survive, it would thrive. "Mission complete, Commander," Kira said, her voice filled with awe. "The Council's leadership is no more. We've won." Liana looked out over the ruined city, the once imposing structures now crumbled at their feet. "We've won," she said quietly, her voice filled with a sense of finality. "But this is just the beginning. Humanity is now the one force no one will be able to ignore. And we're just getting started."